Good morning, everyone. Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock. We're glad to kick off the day today with a very interesting company. We have the honor to have Jan Taube, the CEO of Staige One, with us, who will give us some detailed insight into the company's strategy and recent developments. You might hear some echo. This might be the reason because we are basically in the same room, because we are also on the road to today in Hamburg. Just a short introduction, as Staige is a relatively new company on the stock exchange, which had its debut approximately a year ago via reverse listing. Staige has developed an AI-driven camera system which helps the amateur sports to digitalize, similar to what we already know from professional sports. Jan Taube will give us an insight about the company and the recent developments. Just to let you know, NWQ Research, we have a buy rating on the stock with a price target of 6. And finally, some housekeeping questions, which I'd like to answer. First of all, we will record this meeting and will be available on our research hub later on. And questions can be asked in this chat box on the bottom right, and we will have time to digest all of them in the Q&A later on. And with this, I'd like to hand over to you, Jan. We're happy to have you with us today.
Thank you for the introduction, and hi everyone. Happy to see you and giving me the chance to introduce Staige and myself. Before we come to the presentation, maybe a couple of words to myself. I'm Jan Taube. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Staige. I have a strong background in sports and economics. I used to be a professional hockey player in the first league in Germany. I have a diploma in sports science from the Sports University in Cologne. And after my professional sport career, I had several roles with a sales focus within the Lufthansa Group. And then 2017, I had the chance to co-found Staige. From my background, you can imagine it wasn't hard to get me on board with the idea of broadcasting and analyzing sports. So let's share the screen. Focus of today's presentation is a little bit looking back what happened the last 12 months. Last 12 months, quite simple, because we had our APO in August, and we just want to have a short look back on how did the first 12 months develop and help Staige being on the stock market. Obviously, we have a look at the figures of the current year and the developments of the current year, and we are also looking into 2025 and the following years. The last 12 months have been quite good for us, to be honest, especially from a sales point of view, because we were able to sign several quite big contracts for us, which sum up to a revenue of 11 million euros. We're gonna get over the next several years. How did we realize these revenues, especially on an international focus? We started market development, especially in Asia, and with a strong focus on China. I'm gonna get into details later on because we really see us growing in China quite strong, since we have a USP there. We not only have grown by revenue and by international countries, but also of the amount we broadcast. We added 50,000 events, meaning games and practices over the last 12 months, which come to a total of 185,000 events. We started 7 years ago with a total of 185,000, 50,000 in just the last 12 months. You can see on how the use and the reach of our camera systems is strongly evolving. That's quite important for us because we're receiving a lot of data from our customers, which I will explain later on the way as well. Our strategic partners, Borussia Dortmund is also one of our investors, quite more than just an investor. They help us on the product side. We are doing a lot of development, for example, a coaching tool where coaches have the chance to analyze their practices and games, but also when it comes to data and analytics. and quite important also on the sales side. We are using, especially in the foreign territories, their sales offices quite heavily to generate leads and to help us converting the leads into opportunities and to final signatures on a sales contract. For the German market, we still work quite closely with the German Football Federation, but also with the German Hockey Federation. The blue icon probably doesn't look too familiar for you. It's because it's from the Asian market. The company is called Acme. Acme is the digitization partner of the Chinese Football Federation, which we work closely in the Chinese market. Last but not least, equestrian sports is becoming more and more important for us. We are working there really closely with the market leader, the company called Clip My Horse. They broadcast especially horse jumping and dressage, and we help them scale their business. We're going to also have a closer look on that case in the following slides. To give you guidance on the direction, so as you heard over the last 12 months, we're doing a lot of international deals. That's also the focus and for the current and for the next years. So we really try to build and enter new markets abroad. We've noticed that sales works quite good there for us. We have a USP when it comes to our technical infrastructure. The tickets, meaning the contracts we close there, are quite big, so they help us really grow on a financial base. We focus on B2B customers, meaning B2B customers being broadcasting station, technology companies, can be federations. So everybody that's interesting on not buying 1 or 2 cameras, but 10, but 100 or even 1,000 cameras. And we are starting opening our software, meaning you can send us signals from your mobile phone and we still be able to analyze it with our software services. With the introduction, I also jumped quite fast in our business. Maybe let's take a step back and present you the general idea of what we are doing. We have developed a hardware system which also has a pattern. The pattern we believe is quite important for us. That is able to last several years. In the beginnings, we said it will be 3 years, but we now have cameras outside that lasted more than 6 years. In all kinds of weather condition, on any given pitch, can be a football pitch, can be a hockey stadium, ice hockey, basketball, and so on, everything that is happening on a pitch. These cameras broadcast a signal to our cloud. In the Western world, we work with Google. In the Asian world, we work with the Volcano engine of TikTok. And in the cloud, we have several different artificial intelligence. They are all developed by us, so we're looking at the whole chain that all belongs to us. There's nothing we bought or we are renting from foreign third parties. And there are the AI broadcasts the events and streams it to YouTube, to any OTT platform, to smartphones, and so on. And also does analyzations of the performance data. That part is the part that's becoming more and more interesting and where we're putting a lot of efforts because we see a lot of customer demands in the performance data. And that market is just being developed. So we're putting a lot of our resources in that part. To give you a better understanding when I talk about performance data, I brought you a short video. That video is what our AI sees. So that's not something we're going to broadcast to our viewers since you see the whole pitch. But that's how our AI works. So as you can see, there are a lot of squares, meaning the AI is able to detect every single player throughout the whole game on the pitch. You see one circle, that's the ball. You see a visualization of all these squares and circles right here. So you have a top view. And that is the base for our AI to extract data. Let's take the guy here, the red jersey on the left-hand side. We'll be able to follow him all throughout the whole game. and then we can provide him data as how many kilometers did he run, how many passes were completed, how many shots are net, and so on, but also into deeper data. Maybe this guy lost his performance after the 70th minutes. He lost more man-on-man situations. He ran slower. So it could have been a good heads up for the coach to subsidize him because he's tired. But it can also that he is really interesting for scouts because this guy is only 18, is doing a great job. She should be promoted to the next level. So this performance data opens up a lot of business situations, which become really interesting for us and our clients. So I told you in the beginning, focus on the B2B business model. So let's have a closer look what that actually means. We are still selling cameras to clubs. We are working with really like rock bottom amateur clubs where their best team plays in the 12th league and is just there for fun. But we also work with really professional clubs throughout actually the world. We just sold one to the first league team in Brazil. But at the end, these sales, these cameras are only being sold once. So these teams take maybe 1, 2, maybe they take 5 cameras, but these deals are quite small. So what we've done over the last couple months or over the last year, we have been focusing on the B2B business, where we not only sell several cameras, but a lot. Plus, they're not only buying hardware and our AI, they need additional services. They need first, second, and third level support. They always need maintenance. They need adjustments and customizing of our OTT platform, white labeling. So there are services we can sell our customers besides our core product, which have been developed quite good for us. And having a look on the sales pipeline, we believe that we can top the deals we did in the last 12 months over the next 12 months. But I come to that on a later perspective as well. I'm talking a lot about AI and camera systems, and I know it's hard because it's a new market and it's new product, so it's hard to get a feeling on prices per system and how we actually work. So we just brought a screenshot out of our basic price table to give you an idea on how we do sales and how we do pricing. So the camera always comes with a one-time payment. You need to initially pay 3,600 euros to get the camera. We already make money with that sales, but that's not the interesting part of our revenue. The interesting part comes with the AI and the software as a service. So once you have the camera, you still need to pay 300 euros every single month, over 3 years each month to use our different AIs. That gives our business plan and our cash planning a quite substantial benefit because all the contracts we're having a big amount of recurring revenue. Last December, we signed a contract which gives us revenue until December in 2029. So 5 years or 6 years of planning we're having with that deals, and all our contracts are structured that way. We also sell a coaching tool. That's the tool we developed jointly with Borussia Dortmund, also a software as a service. You can buy that on a monthly basis. 60% of our users or our customers use our coaching tool. Also quite nice, gives us a base to have a direct touch point with the coaches as well. And this will be important for the future to sell performance data. So you don't need always to just talk to the guy that signs the contract. We can talk to the sports people directly via the coaching tool and sell them additional services. We also get small fees for pay-per-view. For instance, if a team or a customer decided to put games behind a paywall, we get a little piece out of that. And to give you an idea on the performance data, we strongly believe we can sell that to the current customer base. When you looked on the professional scale, it costs more than €1,000 to do all the deep analysis of a game and of the players. We believe that price points around €100 is something we can deliver on a scale. And when it comes to individual data that's not yet available on any scale, we believe we can sell data to players for €10 a month. So all the top part, that's something we are already doing for several years. The performance part, that's something to come. We will do in the future, starting with the first steps next year. We won't be fully developed, but starting next year, this will come. The next question I always get is on the market. And as you can imagine, the market is huge, but it's hard for investors to get a real feeling on that. That's why I brought a couple use cases to give you a better feeling on our market. First is AI automated broadcasting is used in several areas, replacing existing and manual broadcasting. It's quite simple. That's our example we're doing in equestrian sports. Clip My Horse is broadcasting 2,500 events every single year. They're doing that manually, meaning they're sending people to the events, to the venues, and having them broadcasted. Equestrian sports usually starts quite early, 8 in the morning, lasts till 8 in the evening, can be longer and goes for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 days. So you can imagine being a cameraman, it's quite hard. So you need at least two cameramen doing the broadcasting. It's quite hard to find these people and it's hard to scale them. And it's also a quality issue because if you're doing several hours of manual production of equestrian sports, the quality goes down. With our AI, it's quite easy. You install the system once and then it runs on a high quality every single time. You don't have any difficulties with finding the labor. And it's a quite good case. Clip My Horse is aiming with us to raising the productions from 2,500 events to 5,000 annually events. So quite good case for us. A second example is broadcasting leagues, where you just have high production costs and it's tough to build a monetization. This comes especially in small leagues. We have this example in Luxembourg. Our customer is RTL, the private broadcasting station. In the past, they only have been broadcasting one, maybe two games of their top leagues. With us, they're broadcasting every single game now, meaning first league of handball, basketball, volleyball, football, even the second league, they're having 70 cameras. And even though it's a quite small country, we're quite proud of this case because everything that really matters in sports is being broadcasted from us for RTL. The next step, and this is where we're getting a lot of demand in over the last months and where we see, where we strongly believe this part will grow when it comes to performance data, video and performance data for use development. Let's go to our Chinese customers. In China, they're building 60,000 football pitches within the next 3 years. To give you a comparison, Germany has 45,000 pitches. So it's a quite massive amount they're investing. The reason for that is their decision has been made that in the 50s of this year, of 2050, they want to be in the world top class of football. They want to even aim for being the world champion in football. So they're needing a lot of pitches, but they also need a lot of coaches. They need a lot of good referees to really build up football. They found out that they need, as you can imagine, in China, they need cameras to follow the development of their football program and especially of their youth program. They need videos to see on how good are the practices from the coaches, how good is their refereeing, and to find talents. Like out in the province, it's hard to scout. With the camera system, you can look at every single player and eventually have the development being done by the AI. Next case is quite close to it, but it has a sharper look on the individual talent. Personal performance data for players. That's a case we're currently doing in Brazil. One of the major player scouts is our customer. His ambitions are to fully digitize player scouting. He wants to be able to scout 10-year-olds and saying, okay, the chance of this 10-year-old kid to become a second league player or first league player or even a Champions League player is by 80%. So I should invest in him, I should develop him, and put all efforts to make him big. This process is now being done quite manually from scouts who try to rate him. But as you can imagine, these are just the first steps where you can enter using data and to get that on a more objective level than just someone looking at it. Quite interesting case. Like I said, we are broadcasting a lot of 4-on-4 events at the moment in Brazil, just with the pure reasons to find the next superstar. This sums up a little the situation. I just do a quick over it to give you more ideas where we are. I already mentioned RTL being our customer. Fan.at, maybe to point out, it's a subsidiary of the Kronen Zeitung, some similar tabloid newspaper, the biggest one in Austria we are working with. Also work in Spain with a couple La Liga clubs, Cadiz and Osasuna. We also work in Turkey with Galatasaray and Besiktas. Hungary with telecom company we're working with. So we're making our steps out of Germany and Europe, but the big cases are the ones in China, equestrian sports, and hopefully more to come in Asia.
Is de tijd. We gaan het startnummer weer langs kijken naar de tweede Nederlandse combi.
I mentioned the equestrian sports a couple times. I want to give you a look to give you really a feeling on how we work and how good our product is. What you see here, the movie, this is being captured by our camera and being broadcasted by our AI. But also the interesting part behind this is something similar I showed you with the football video earlier. On the top left, you see whatever the broadcaster is seeing, so the extraction of what we deliver to Clip My Horse. On the bottom part, you see what the AI is seeing. First of all, you noticed that it's quite difficult to broadcast horse jumping because it's not only one horse currently running in that parcours, the white one. No, there's several horses. There's at least a second one. Sometimes there's even a third one. This comes because the brown horse maybe is just in the warm-up phase and will be the next one to start, but it can also that it just finished the parcours and it's still running there. So it's hard for an AI to detect it. But you also noticed, again, these squares that we're able to detect all the things the horses need to jump over. This is being visualized on the bottom right part. There you can see on where the horses run, where the jumps are, and you can extract data like how long did the horse need to finish the parcours. So you don't need timekeeping anymore because this can be automated. On a next evaluation step, you will be answered to able questions. How high did a horse jump? How many steps did it do in between the events, and to get into deeper data, just we doing in football. And that idea you can translate not only to equestrian sports and football, it also goes for hockey, field hockey, basketball. So basically every sport we're doing, they're all looking for data. And equestrian sport, it's deeper interesting because our customer Clip My Horse, they already have a platform where you can buy horses, and to enrich the process of selling a horse with data obviously helps boosting their sales. That's something that's not there in human sports, of course, because there's no platform where you can buy humans, but in equestrian sports that's possible. So that makes this case especially of interest for us. China. We sold more than 1,000 cameras to our Chinese customer Acme. They received the first 75 cameras this year, and they paid for them. That's a question I've getting asked a lot, to be honest. And they're gonna receive 125 more cameras over this year. They're gonna get another 350 cameras next year and 500 cameras in 2026. These cameras give us a high recurrent and substantial revenue. To point out this example again, the last cameras we're going to ship in December 2026. After the initial hardware payment, they're paying 3 years a monthly license fee. So the last revenue out of that contract we are received in December of 2029, which gives us again a good base for financial plannings and services. This is, to be honest, the pessimistic case, and has chances for a couple upscaling for upscaling. So we believe this contract could get even bigger than the current status is, and it's important. We don't have any exclusivity in that contract, and we have another partner which is focusing on different sports in our pipeline, which has already been testing our camera, and we are looking forward we are believing that we will be able in the next months to have another big contract in the Chinese market. The reason why we are good positioned in China is the Chinese need a central data hosting. So we needed to develop our AIs on a Chinese mainland cloud. That's why we are working with TikTok. From our knowledge, we are the only company from our competition that is able to work in a Chinese cloud. A lot of our competitors working with local hosting and local AIs, and with that setup, it's hard to win any RFPs, and that's why we're believing we need to really push the Chinese market since we are in a USP position there. India also quite interesting for us, especially the handball part there. Investing a lot of money in growing handball. Having a couple of test cases there, and the potential customer was just over here in Germany, and we also believe that we have a partner to tackle the Indian market within the next couple of months. Sustainability, that's also questions I've been getting asked a lot. We looked at the UN Charter, and sorry for not being translated in English, but this is well-being, education, and gender equality. That is something where our cameras and especially our softwares help a lot. Well-being part of getting younger people back on track, or no matter what age, getting them on a pitch, having that analyzed, having them educated on how to practice. And obviously we're doing a lot of women's sports since they don't have any, or they have less reach than the male sports, and we help special women's leagues to grow and to get more traction. Figures, we have a comparison on 23 and 22. To be honest, the 23 figures are not good and behind what we have forecast. This comes on one side, obviously, on it took a lot of efforts in getting the big contracts for the next years, but it also comes from our German sales is behind or was behind plan. That comes from the sales cycle is quite long, and takes a lot of effort, and it's time consuming to get the cameras in the German markets. That's why we made the decisions to not have a strong focus on our home market anymore, but to have it rather on an international business and on the B2B business. So I need a couple of explanations when you look at that figures. Last year we had a total revenue of 2.6 million compared to 4 million the year before. You need to clear that numbers because on 2022 we had a lot of revenue coming from a sale and lease back. That's not from a operation perspective, it's not revenue. On a financial perspective, you need to book it as revenue. We finance our production of the hardware, and when we finish building a camera, we sell that to a leasing company, the Deutsche Leasing, and then lease it back. The revenue we're getting from the Deutsche Leasing needs to count as revenue, and this makes a big difference. So last year we had 2.2 million coming from our leasing company, and from our operation side we had a revenue from 1.8 million. Looking on the figures from this year and next year, it looks a lot better, and we are quite happy with that development. For the half-year figures, we are in plan, and we also believe that we meet our goals for the end of the year, making revenue between 4 and 4.4 million, and cutting our losses to 2.1 and 2.4 million. But looking on the next, and especially on 2026, we believe we meet the break even there. You see that here on the dotted line. That's the revenue we are already having signed. It's either recurrent from the years before, or it's coming from Chinese equestrian sport and so on. So that's already revenue that's hard signed by our customers. So we having chances that if there's another big deal coming, that we even meeting the break even on a shorter period. But on a current status plan, we are planning it for 2026. So looking on the development of our stock, as you see, we had the IPO in August last year, had quite strong momentum, and then we had, to be honest, a challenge of liquidity in our stocks, but also to getting more attraction and getting more people to know us. So what we're doing to have that on a stable base, we're invested a lot in investor relations, but we also invested on being on trade shows. And from October onwards, we are listed on Xetra, so having more liquidity and not a big spread in the stock market. The research targets are from MWB. They see us at 6 euros, and the SMC research sees us at €5.90. We currently have a capital increase. Our major investors, Adesso, Borussia Dortmund, and the Low family office already participated fully. So 65% of that capital increase, meaning I think 1.7 million is already covered by these 3 shareholders. And the total amount we are trying to raise is 2.7 million. So we're having a quite good base there. Market cap, to be honest, is from our point of view quite low. So it's a good timing to buy the stock. It has been already more than 20 million have been invested in the money, and where the current market cap is by half. It's the last capital increase we are doing before the break even, so it's a quite sweet spot to join. Last 2 slides, because I want to give you the chance to have a closer look on the people behind supervisory board. Professor Dr. Volker Grun is the leader of the supervisor board. He's also co-founder and the leader of the supervisor board of Adesso. We work quite close together. Adesso being far more than just an investor. For example, we use their HR recruitment department when we need special skills. On a good day rate, we can rent employees when we need it for special occasions. But we also fleet management we do with them. So Volker himself personally is quite heavily involved on what we are doing. Same goes with Thomas Tress being the financial officer of Borussia Dortmund. We work quite closely with them, the product development side, sales side, not only Thomas Tress, but the sales officer, Carsten Kramer. We do joint meetings, do acquisitions together. So having a really good partner with Borussia Dortmund and also with Matthias Loh, which comes from the Joachim Loh Group, quite big family office. They're all entrepreneurs having several businesses, and we really gain their expertise on how to scale our business. I also had the chance to introduce myself, but if I would be developing the IT part, we won't go far. So Marvin is also one of the co-founders. His strong background in AI, but also in visual data. So everything you can get out of videos. He also worked as a 15-year-old already on that. So really IT brain, but also able to understand business sides and scaling up the IT. On the last side, the structure of the company, Staige One AG is the stock listed holding and owns 100% of the Staige GmbH, where all the operation businesses. That's it.
Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation. And maybe just one thing, I got the feedback that my microphone is not working well, so I'm trying to speak up a little bit louder. We have quite a lot of questions already in the chat box, which I will structure in a minute and will present them. But maybe let me just start off the Q&A with one question regarding your China contract. Obviously, when thinking about China, everyone is talking about the risk of being copied and that might pose a risk to your IP. So what can you do in order to prevent the Chinese or your technology to be copied in the Chinese market? One second, Jan, you have to unmute your. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why I got muted. We obviously asked us that question before entering the market. First of all, it's quite complicated to copy our ecosystem because it's not only the hardware part. On the hardware, you can say, okay, hardware can be copied. It's also a software that runs on the hardware. And the main asset of Staige is the different AIs. And that's just a data game. To be able to develop or copy our AI, I would say you need at least 50,000 games from a couple hundred different pitches. So you would need a major invest in infrastructure first and hardware first, and then you need all the AI expertise to copy that. And then you need to make it run in different clouds. So nothing is impossible, of course, but there is a quite high wall you need to climb to be able to copy that. And we have a strong belief that our further development will make it even more difficult to copy us. That's why we came to the conclusion that we will enter the market, even though with that permanent risk everyone is having being copied. And to be honest, I need to add something to China. We have, I would say, the sales guys and the support guys, they talk on a daily, maybe every second day base to the Chinese people. People we talk to have all been in education or have all been educated in the States. It's quite good customer, to be honest. They have good ideas. They're quite open. They share what they're working with. So far we have made good expertise with the Chinese market. They paid their bills. and it's, to be honest, easier than working with a customer from Austria.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Maybe we just stick to the topic of your contracts. There's one question in the chat box. Which further international large contracts are in the pipeline, and how will these influence your growth in the coming years?
The biggest we have in pipeline, and which is quite far developed, is also in China. A different part of China, majority in a different sport, but also in football. From a revenue perspective, this could be even bigger than the contract we already signed. But like I said, it's not signed yet, but we're optimistic that we will close that this year. The second biggest comes from India. Same timeline. We're optimistic to have that contract closed by this year. And then we have a couple smaller ones coming, several ones. Europe, Brazil. To be honest, all not in the German-speaking market.
Very good. Then we can we stick to the Chinese market. In addition to the delivery of the cameras, is there also a recurring revenue share? If so, how high is it? Is there a chance that further cameras will be ordered in addition to this order? And I think especially bearing in mind the 60,000 plots which are being constructed, 1,200 cameras being sold seem to be just the tip of the iceberg, no?
Yeah, correct. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And to be honest, they're not only investing heavily in football. I mean, that's the big topic now, but we all think our customers also refinancing via smart city projects. So they are going with our cameras in a whole city, the major cities with double-digit millions people living there and entering all the pitches. And yes, the contract is built that they can have more cameras than they already guaranteed, but on the same price tag. So we tell them, if you tell us 3 months ahead, we can be able to guarantee you the current pricing. If it takes longer, you're not going to get the current pricing you're having. Does that answer the question?
I think so. If not, then please reply in the chat box, and then we can clarify that question again. So we go.
Sorry, that's recurrent. Yes, so it's one time the recurrent. I didn't answer the recurrent part. Yes, so the first money we are receiving is before the cameras leave our stock. We're not shipping anything before we have the money. Once they receive the cameras, they get it. They don't need to pay the first month the recurrent revenue, but after the first month, they pay the recurrent revenue, the recurrent license fee for 36 months.
Thanks for clarifying. So we go forward with the next question. It's about your coaching and analysis tool. So how do you assess the future monetization opportunities through value-added services, such as these tools you just mentioned?
So we're going to start with the B2B approach there. For us, it's easier to develop the data extraction for a customer, like we're doing in Brazil for scouting, and to see on how does their monetization work. So we are getting paid to do the development of the data extractions. Once that product is being developed, we can license it to our customers, and then they do the monetization with their customers, teams, players, and so on. We believe that setup is quite good for us, so we can learn on what works on a monetization to the end customer. And in Germany, we have the rights with all the cameras we're having, 1,200 cameras, to monetize with the player directly. But we not going to start that next year. We first want to see on how our partners are doing it and what is working. And once we see and we believe we found a good product on how we can monetize to the player directly, we're going to do that. So we start with the B2B approach. Once we see and get more knowledge of how it really works, then we enter the B2C part.
You just mentioned the B2B part of your business. I think investors who are following your company for some while now, they realize that you started out with a B2C approach and you have shifted a little bit in your strategy. So the next question asks whether or how this B2B approach will affect your sales and customer acquisition. And maybe also there's another question further down in the list. How do you get new staff on board in order to get this growth driving revenues?
So we're doing the B2B part for a longer time, but didn't put it in focus. We've learned that the sales cycle in B2B business abroad is shorter than we having it in Germany. It's always the same. Once the people are interested or the company is interesting, they need a test case. So you need to ship cameras there. It's good. They also get a feeling for that. They install themselves. They see the quality. They see images out of their home turf. Then you have the technical discussions. Where are the videos being displayed? How is it really working on a scale? And once that is clear, you have we always work with a short form contract. It's like an LOI where you have all the parts that is important being written down. Once you have that signed, it can take like 3 to 4 weeks. Once you have that signed, the longer contract can be quite big. So the sales cycle let's put it this way, the sales cycle we had in Europe for the B2B business was between 6 months and 9 months. The Asia deal we did within 3 months. So it will be faster. If it will be always that fast, it's hard to tell. We will learn that, but in India as well, we've noticed that especially in Asia, the people are quite fast compared to the Western world. So that's the part to the sales cycle.
Yeah, for all of them who didn't hear my question, we were talking about the B2B business model, the shift into that, because my microphone was switched off. Apologize for that. But let's stick to the to one of your major contracts, Clip My Horse. So can you shed some light on the strategic and financial implications of that deal?
Strategically, we really believe that this is a strong contact because from our perspective, Clip My Horse is the #1 player by far in the equestrian sport. Their shareholders are the world, what's the name of them? The FIA, I believe, the World Equestrian Federation, but they also have the nationals. A lot of national equestrian federations, like the German one and the Netherlands one. So the mother company of horse riding is invested in Clip My Horse, which gives them quite a sweet spot. They just collected double-digit millions to grow their business, especially in the United States, from a big tech investor, and they strongly believe that this can only be done via AI. We only know one competitor. It's not a typical competitor that is being able to broadcast equestrian sports. When you see you have different horses, so several horses on a course, we believe we are in a USP, and we're not aware of that any other of our competitions is able to broadcast that. So we believe from a strategic approach, we have a close partnership with the #1. We, on a technical point of view, believe that we are the #1 in that sports, that our customer is growing quite fast and quite ambitious. This helps us. on a personal base, we are quite close with them, so both makes fun working together. This is a quite good setup. On the financial side, they committed 100 cameras, which create a revenue of I'm not sure, 6 or 7 million. We published that a couple of months ago. But 100 cameras that's what they guaranteed. It's quite small, looking on that market and the potential.
So potentially another very big market for you. The next two questions are fairly similar. They are both about your break-even targets in 2026. Maybe you can give us some information on what's your break-even revenue goal and how visible is your break-even target. I'm not sure whether you can give us more information on that and what milestones are required to achieve these.
In the past we gave exact figures, and I learned on the stock market we need to hesitate a bit to give them the exact figures. That's why I can show this again here. I think it makes it a little more easier. You see my screen now, huh? Give me a sec. Now you got it, huh? That we pointed out a little, maybe on a voiceover. So you can see this is a little over, I think, 6.5 million. And this is like something, let's say around 8. What needs to happen is that all the contracts we already have signed and they have hard commitments, they need to deliver. If everything happens as it's being signed, we are on a good position. Then only small sales needs to be done to add these numbers. It can be boosted when the China or the India deal comes. We're going to have more revenue, but on the downside, obviously, if something happens to the current contracts, then this is a threat for us. But there are no, like I said, at the moment, everything works quite well. But these are long-term contracts. It's hard to give a forecast on what's going to happen in 3 years.
That means there's another question which asks whether the contracts can also be postponed. Is that possible?
Not by the contract.
Okay, that was again the microphone. So you, by the contract, these orders cannot be postponed. Okay, let's go to the next question. It's about the competition. Maybe you can give us some more information. Who is your competition? The investor is asking for, he mentioned Veo, Pixelot, and Speedio. And in which segments do you see the competition, B2C or B2B?
You named you just named all the big competition. Pixelot is the market leader. Their USP is especially in the broadcasting part. They have local servers. Their system is more expensive, but it's easier to connect it with a broadcasting service. So if there are several cameras, you have a RV wagon for a satellite signal. To be honest, their camera is probably the best to integrate. Local servers, making it tough in China, but also other Asian markets. Local server also makes it tough to scale on a grassroots level. Think about pure infrastructure. A pitch that is being built in the 60s doesn't have space where you can put a server. Speedio, coming from a coaching perspective, their goal, or they started with clubs like Manchester City and Juventus Turin, but their first league team to have software to analyze the top sports that doesn't work for grassroots and amateur and youth sports. You need like 5-6 analysts that do nothing but analyzing sports. Veo, that's the biggest B2C competition. So Pixelot and Speedeo B2B. Veo is purely B2C. They're doing only online sales. When you go on the websites, you're being followed. They only sell to, or mainly sell to clubs. So it's always they sell one, maybe two cameras. That's the biggest competition we see in Germany. There you have issues like, it's a mobile camera. You put it on a tripod. We did experimented with cameras that are mobile as well. So you need to pull them up 6-7 meters. When there's wind, the cameras fall. You have a lot of customer complaints, a lot of cameras that break because obviously when the tripod falls, that's an issue. But like I said, they're the leader in the B2C market, but not in the B2B area.
Very good. Before we come to the last,
just to always being asked for Sports Total, you don't see them abroad in any big RFPs. They're major. I've been asked that because obviously they're German companies. They're all on the stock market. They have different 3 venues. They work in timekeeping for racetracks, manual production, and the smallest one is where we have competition. They sold their German business to Telekom, where we actually don't see them much on the B2C side either. And they're focusing on volleyball in the United States. We're not in that market, so at the moment there's no competition to that.
I remember from the last calls that this is always a topic which comes up about Sport Total.
That last question, to make that clear, Sport Total, yes, they developed something similar. Their business case is different. They need reach. They need people watching the games to monetize. They give the hardware, they give that out for free or for small amounts, and they want to monetize with advertising. For our case, it doesn't matter if this game is shown to one person or to millions. We make money even though no one watches the game. Big difference.
Very good. Let's talk about capacity. So what are your limitations? What is your maximum output on cameras per year? And are you manufacturing or are you buying them from suppliers?
We do manufacturing. It's basically an assembling of parts. Most of these parts come out of Asia, to be honest. We are able to produce 50 cameras per week. We believe that in the newer camera generations, we can scale that production amount. Production, to be honest, was quite hard during COVID and where the supply chains were being hazard. There it was a big advantage that we had our own production, because it starts with you only get, I don't know, a wire is missing or just a small part, and then you can subsidize these parts when you have it all in your hand. For the next productions, more parts we will buy pre-produced, and then we only need to do less assembling. But at the moment, it's a good advantage that we have the assembling ourselves.
And in terms of the AI business, what do you think? What kind of time advantage do you have with this other AI programs?
That's a tough question, because of course I have an idea and I can guess, but our AI people are not allowed to look into their AI of the competition. Let's phrase it different. The scouts we are working with, they did a real deep RFP and they even make due diligence before they choose on which vendor they are choosing. There was a big, long process. And we won that process. So that gives us confidence, and they're not looking after the last euro they're spending. They're looking for quality. So that gives us the feeling that we are positioned quite well, but it's hard to have that exactly measured in time or in manpower or even in money. Same goes with having our AI run in the TikTok cloud. It's hard to measure on how much effort that takes for different companies.
Okay, thank you. Given that time is running up, I'd like to focus one last topic on the capital raise. There are two questions. Well, first of all, there's a question whether you plan any capital increase in the near future. I mean, the answer is obviously yes. You mentioned that. How is your backing from your current shareholders? You also mentioned that you have very strong backing, but maybe you can just remind us how much of the shares are already subscribed, and what is the window of opportunity for new investors to subscribe to the new shares if they want to?
Yeah. So the current capital increase is running. It started last Monday, and for current shareholders, they have the chance till this Friday to participate. After that, a potential private placement is going to take place. We have the current backing from the three main investors, about some between 1.6 and 1.7, closer to 1.7 million, which is 65%, I believe, from what they're owning. So they're said right away they're going with it.
I assume that you also like to raise or gain new investors from abroad. Therefore, the next question is quite valid, I think. Will you provide financial information and presentation in English on your investor side in the future?
So we maybe step back. Yes, we went to the stock market to find new investors, and especially on an international base. So yes, we will provide an English website and also English documentation. This obviously is a no-brainer and should have been done before. It's time is our issue.
I think today's presentation in English is already the first step in that direction. Well, perfect. I mean, let's conclude with the last question. It's all about the brain drain. So how do you get new staff, and how do you incentivize your current staff not to lose any of your valuable brains in your company?
Yeah. First of all, we are a tech company. The CTO and I are co-founders, but also the one that's in charge of the AI department, and also the one that's in charge of the hardware department. They are all co-founded the company. It's quite complex. So we are in a strong position that we have these people from the beginning on board. All other key employees have stock options. We just gave them out in the beginning of the year that all our key employees are well incentived. Have a well incentive for the future. And I have to say, we have the people like to work with us. Not a lot of people leave us. They're working on the news infrastructure. It's still quite the people like working with. We are young, we are flexible, we are in a cool market, sports and AI, current IT stack. So it's quite good setup for us. We find employees via the Adesso process. I mean, they hire 10,000 techies. It's easier for us to use their HR resources than our own. But we also find employees via our own reach. For example, the last AI guy that we hired clicked on a pre-roll that ran on the women's game of Borussia Dortmund. We advertised on the Borussia Dortmund's women's game. We were broadcasting it. We were promoting the job, and that's how we got his application.
Perfect. Well, I look at the chat box. Seems to be that there are no further questions coming in. So therefore, also looking at the time, I think we spent an hour learning a lot about your company. Jan, thank you very much for this valuable insights. And maybe last words, maybe you want to just address, and that's it then for today.
Thanks for joining, and thanks for all the good questions. If there are further questions, I believe, Thomas, you're going to share the presentation. They have my contact details. I'm happy to personally hear from you if I can help out with more details.
Great. Thank you very much. and have
Thank
a great
you.
day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.